Welcome to Ghoulish. I am Max Booth, a host, and today on the program I am speaking to another host, the host of the Bizzong podcast, Frank Edler himself, and we're talking about... What are we talking about? I did this episode a long time ago. I should look this up. Oh yes, we're talking about the blending of two genres, when two genres come together. But what two genres, you may be asking? You're not asking that because you already read the title of the episode. And yeah, we're doing an episode on horror comedies. Just, talking about nothing specific really, just the vague notion of combining two genres and the type of brass balls you would have to even attempt such a atrocity. So yeah, that's what's happening. So enjoy the episode, and I don't know, how's it going? I guess pretty good. All right, cool. Okay. I don't know what to do. I should get to the episode. But before we do episodes, I always have to laugh like a fiend. And then I'll cough. And then we'll do the transition music. Except I don't feel like laughing. I'm sleepy. Okay, I'm gonna give it a go. Oh, hoo, 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 ha, ha, hoo, ha, ha. Let's do this episode. No chit chat. Let's just get straight into it.
Fuck this dumb.
I have a question. Are you okay if I record this episode?
It's okay for now.
Okay, good. Now, Frank, last name
Yes.
Bizzong? Is Frank Bizzong the legal name?
Frank Bizzong is not my legal name. That's my stage name.
Oh, okay. I was just covering my my tracks. I have a list of things I have to ask you, and that was the only one listed. Now, this is the end of the episode, so what would you like to plug?
The end of the episode?
Yeah, have you never listened to Ghoulish? It's only 2 minutes long.
I have. It's been a pleasure on, and you can go get cat corn right now, available on Amazon and wherever Amazon is sold.
Cat what?
Cat coin.
Oh, what is that? Some type of pornographic video?
It's Bitcoin, but with cats.
That sounds cool. I would not be able to invest in cat coin because I am highly allergic to cats. So
that's the beauty of the book, is if you get the digital thing. I'm actually highly allergic to cats too, and I wrote it. Some
type of masochist, then, huh?
I am.
Now, when I asked you to do this podcast, you said yes, and I said okay, Frank Bizzong, but you have to pick a topic. And what topic did you tell me you wanted to talk about?
I want to talk about horror comedy.
Now, that's really interesting that you would say that, because those are two different genres, and you will saying that they could possibly be combined? I don't get it.
Yeah, if you take horror and comedy and put them together, what you get is a genre of horror that people by and large are not at all interested in.
Can you think of any movies or books that have combined this. This is a whole new thing. I've never even heard of such a genre existing. This is new territory.
There's heaps and tons of it out there. Of course, books. My favorite like horror comedy of all time. Did I say books? Let's start with movies. My favorite horror comedy movie of all time is Saturday the 14th. That's like when I was a wee lad, and had the HBO where you had to stick the antenna out. There's these things called antennas, and you had to stick them on your roof to get HBO. And they played incessantly. They played Saturday the 14th, just morning, noon, and night. It's like all they had to play.
I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. What is this? I'm not even joking at this point.
You don't know Saturday the 14th?
No, I don't. Did you make this up? Is this a prank?
No, it's a legit horror comedy movie, a horror spoof, I guess you might want to call it. It's gosh, the 80s. I don't know if you were there.
I was not.
In the 80s, it's not even a spoof of Friday the 13th per se. Like it's not really. It's just kind of being a goofy horror movie where there's they move into this house and there's all these monsters. Like the girl takes a bath and there's like the creature from the Black Lagoon spoof monster that comes out of the bathtub, and there's a vampire and his mistress in the house, and it's just all really goofy fun, and so they called it Saturday the 14th since at the time, and that's when you had the in the early 80s area, and the Friday the 13th franchise was starting up.
That was back when we still had Saturdays. They have since been outlawed.
Yeah, every day is Saturday now, I think.
Every day is a day that begins with Y. Now, are you a fan of those scary movie parodies that came out like a decade ago?
Like such as Scream?
Yeah, like
or like
the ones called Scary Movie, Scary Movie 2, Scary Movie 3.
I mean, they're okay for what they are, of course. The best was I was visiting Italy years ago before they had pandemics there, and one of those scary movies was on, but it was all in Italian, and that was hysterical because it was in Italy, and oddly enough they speak Italian there, so that's like there weren't English subtitles because that would be silly, so they just had all the overdubbed Italian, and that really made the movie that much more funnier.
Now, why do you think it would be silly for them to have English subtitles? Are you telling me every country on the planet doesn't cater to Americans?
Yeah, I am telling you that I was shocked myself that
that is disgusting.
It's like, you remember that scene in European Vacation? Speaking of horror comedies, where they're in England of all places, but they only had the Cheese Channel.
Yes. I do know what you're talking about.
It's like that, but also in Italian, not even in English.
I think
not in the Queen's.
I think I might hate those scary movie parodies more than any other movie on the planet.
See, this is why horror comedy itself is the scourge of the horror genres, the horror subgenres, I should say. I get that because I consider myself what I write horror comedy by and large, and I get that. Like people, like I hate the fact that you're making fun of or making light of my very serious horror stuff. At least that's the impression I get.
Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I hate horror comedies. I'm saying that specific movie series I loathe. And I'll tell you why. Okay. I think there's a difference with horror comedies. Will you just reference movies that you've seen before, and a scary movie that's funny? So, like Shaun of the Dead, it's not constantly saying, "Hey, do you remember that one movie?" Well, it's just like that, right? It has it's well written. It has a good cast. It's funny, but it's also somewhat a little bit frightening in some scenes. But it's mostly funny, I would say. But say like a scary movie, I don't know, one of them, 2, 3, it doesn't matter. Most of them will just like not even referencing a skilly movie, like actual horror movies. Like they'll just go, "Hey, you know that celebrity? Well, wouldn't it be funny if she was in this scene?" It's like a Family Guy dilemma almost.
Hmm.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. It's too hokey because it's like it becomes like the airplane. It's just over the top, and you want something like, how do you feel about Tucker and Dale versus Evil? I think that's a better example of poking fun at horror and the comedy without being like over the top, just ease like
I love that movie.
the scary movie franchise. Yeah, the scary movie franchise. It's just they're being really easy. They're being hack, I think, about the comedy. Where Tucker and Dale versus Evil is seriously, making comedy of the tropes in horror, and I think that works way better than what they're trying to do with Scary Movie, where they're just, like you said, they're just trying to put these B-list movie actors in ridiculous situations and just be easy and hacky about the comedy.
Yeah, I think what made my brain go to those movies is you mentioned like a Friday, Saturday the 14th, and you said it was a parody, and I guess my brain just went to those much lesser quality movies, and yeah, I didn't intend on even bringing this up because I wouldn't even. I usually go about my day without thinking about the Skilly movie series. I try to at least, but yeah, Tucker and Dale vs. Evil is great because it takes the genre and kind of flips it over into something that you're used to seeing, but not in this type of perspective, and that's awesome.
Yeah, I think they're, the execution, they're similar. Both franchises are doing. It's not a franchise, but both movies are trying to do the same thing. But Tucker and Dale versus Evil does it with a heart for horror, where Scary Movie is more like just trying to cash in on all that stuff and not really, they don't. I don't think they knew horror, obviously, as the people who did Tucker and Dale versus Evil is.
That's a great point. Yeah, I bet you most of those people who did write and direct those movies, they weren't even fans of the genre, and it shows. So, like, look at Sam Raimi. He's so obviously a student of that genre, and all of his movies fucking rule.
Yeah,
Especially
agreed.
Spider-Man 3. That's his best movie, I think.
Oh my God, it's just an American masterpiece of cinema.
Which is the best type of cinema, American.
Yes. Not that Italian shit.
What about books? One that comes to mind would be John Dies at the End. You a fan of that one?
Yeah, I like that enough, but I'm more into like Jeff Strand type of horror comedy there.
Jeff Strand's great. What would you recommend from Strand?
My favorite one, I guess it's maybe still horror, but Cyclops Road is my favorite from him.
I fucking love that book.
That's an incredibly great book. Yeah, I don't know if it's horror or not. It's close, right? And
who gives a shit?
But more recently, I read Clowns vs. Spiders. I read more recently, and that was a whole lot of fun to read as well.
I have not read that one yet, but I want to. Someone else I would who's kind of similar to Jeff Strand would be Christopher Mille. He's pretty damn good.
Well, yeah. How can you not bring up horror comedy books without bringing up Christopher Moore? When I I'm out there at conventions, so I'm trying to sell books, and they're like horror comedy, like they don't get it, and I have to be like, like Christopher Moore, and then they get it, and all of a sudden, so I have to be like, I hate doing that, like comparing myself to Christopher Moore, because I don't think what is in my books is anything like a Christopher Moore book. But if you look at all my book covers, I'm trying to mock a Christopher Moore book cover. It's exactly what I'm doing. Just a very simple one picture thing, and then that's what I'm doing to try and sell books.
Give me a specific example.
Oh, you can look at Scatterbrain or Death Gets a Book. They're the examples I have.
I'm looking at the plots, and they're all the same plots as Christopher Mille's novels as well. This one is just about a man who falls in love with a vampire, and I'm reading a. This one is about God's best friend, Jesus' best friend.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know you wrote a book like that too.
I call it Baby Sheep. Yeah.
A baby sheep. Yeah. So okay, let's talk about what you write then. How do you tackle the genre when you prepare to write something?
I mean, so I just kind of gravitate towards writing like monster stories, and then just making them funny. I don't even make them funny. I just even when I try to write serious, quote unquote serious stuff, people are like, that's ridiculous. Why'd you have to make it like add all that comedy and stuff? Like, what are you talking about? I try to write this really dark thing, and they're like, yeah, but there's these these comedic moments and stuff. So it just kind of, I can't help myself, I guess, write stupidity and craziness. And being a fan of like bizarro type weird fiction, like I get into those sort of avenues too. I always get, because I'm Frank Bizzong, I always get tagged as like I'm a bizarre writer, and I'm not writing anything at all like bizarro. I've tried to and I can't, but I think some of the kooky crazy shit people just like that are not used to bizarro reading, they're like, oh, that's what bizarro is, and I'm like, well, no, I'm closer to horror comedy. I'm writing monster books that with the little laugh to them.
Okay, so how would you separate the two genres? Like, what defines one and what defines the other genre? How are they different?
As between horror comedy and bizarro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's not easily answered. But I think what makes my stuff not bizarro is that, I mean, I'm just writing a book about like the Grim Reaper, and just him going through these sort of follies, the follies of what a Grim Reaper is. It's not, charing on his boat and getting coins or collecting souls. It's kind of like my Grim Reaper becomes like telling a funny story of like a guy going through his job and having like these souls, like, not, I don't want to die, I want to go. And you're like, come on, and doing tasks like that, trying to make it look like a guy grinding out his daily job that he hates working at, and making that, the Grim Reaper. And that doesn't necessarily equate to bizarro, because bizarro, I think the sort of trick with bizarro is to create a world that's mostly like the real world, quote unquote, but then add that one really strange element and have the people in the world like not find that odd and strange. Like they, like a guy might have, I don't know, Banana Head Man, but nobody's bothered by the Banana Head Man, but yet his banana head sort of informs his personality, and then then they go through life like, what would a man in our world with a banana head, how would he react? That's sort of how I think bizarro works, is trying to make it as real as possible with a really weird thing going on in the world, and having the world react to that as if that were normal also.
That's a really good answer. Yeah, that makes a lot. This makes a lot of sense. Now I want to write Banana Head though, because like tarantulas are attracted to bananas, so you have to think they would be following him around.
So then Banana Head Man, his best friend is a tarantula who's constantly wanting to eat him, but then he realizes that's his struggle. He realizes, if I eat my best friend, I'll have nobody to hang out with. And then Banana Head Man, he's probably oblivious to the fact that his best friend wants to eat him constantly.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to read good bizarro, you should read Carlton Melick. I mean, all of his stuff. Oh, yeah. It's exactly what you said. They take a ridiculous premise, and he makes it so realistic. He treats it seriously.
Yes.
I've written some humorous, spooky stories in my time. I'm asked that question a lot too, and I never know how to answer what makes a good horror comedy. But I think what I like to write and what I like to watch and read is a serious horror premise, not taken too wacky, but the humor comes from how the killer tools interact with each other. So take like a regular movie or a book, and most of the time they might be just screaming and going, we need to get help, this is spooky. You know how people talk. They go, this is spooky, and they go, yeah, I agree, it is spooky. And something more comedic, I mean, it almost becomes more realistic, because say if you and I were stuck in some spooky cemetery, running and trying to save our lives, we would still probably be doing like dick jokes with each other too at the same time, because that's just how we talk. And I think that's real. The strength and humor comes from it makes the cast that you have developed more realistic.
Yeah, no, that's definitely sort of how, like you said, when they're sometimes they're acting and the way they react to these scary things, or it serves the plot, it serves the premise of horror. But yeah, like, wouldn't it be funny if they reacted this way instead, like more realistically, or those times when there is some horror, and you always got I'm always that guy when shit sucks, like I'm going to be making the pandemic jokes and like try to make light of it and not have to constantly deal with reading the news and everything like that. And I'm going to try and put a spin on it. There's always that guy around there, and then just try to transplant that into this story.
Exactly. And something else that's really benefits us, those who write this type of genre, is it's almost like music, the way it flows. Because a really good thing with the Hulu comedies is you can have a lot of funny things happening, and then suddenly you fucking shut it down immediately with something really serious and emotional happening, and you just kind of cut off all the comedy at once. And if you flip that around the opposite way, if you have a lot of serious things happening, say you have this long conversation and it's treating a dramatic subject, I don't know, something like, oh, my mom died, it sucked, but well written. And then all of a sudden one of them cracks a dick joke, it really it throws the audience through a loop, because they don't even know how to react now. It's so the laugh is so unexpected because they've been drawn into this horrifying sequence, and all of a sudden someone is like taking a shit on someone's face. I don't know.
My mom's dead now. Drop trow.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Pooped on my face, or my mom's dead?
Both.
Okay.
Have you ever been pooped on, Frank?
No. Well, no. Let me rephrase that. Yes, I have been pooped on. I have 3 kids, so I've been pooped on many times, actually.
That's pretty cool, man.
And it was several times probably very intentional as well.
Yeah, have you ever pooped on anyone intentionally?
I'm sure I have, being a child myself at one point in my life. I'm pretty sure I have pooped on somebody.
That's cool. You
Yeah,
got any questions for me?
I do, and you'll have to tune into Bizzong to find out what those questions are.
Now, what's Bizzong?
Bizzong is the podcast I do. I only do one because I'm not a masochist like you are. So I do Bizzong, the weird and wacky fiction podcast, in line with that horror thing. I mean, it did start out as a sort of bizarro-centric podcast. It was never like totally bizarro, but obviously very bizarro-centric. And since then, when I discovered about myself, like I am not, I cannot write straight bizarro at all. So maybe I should kind of expand the definition of what Bizzong is. So I go into weird and wacky. So it kind of encompasses, sort of more about what I'm into, and I always use the podcast to try to learn. Like I say, it's sort of my like writing school, to be able to talk to all these writers that do dabble in this sort of stuff. So. And in order to not learn about bizarro, which I can't write, I expanded the definition so I can get some horror comedy writers on, like a Max Booth III. And I do that every Monday. Almost every Monday it comes out, and we're just about at 200 episodes here. So I've been doing it for a while.
Wow. I was just on Bizzong before we did this episode of Ghoulish. And you asked me how come I do Ghoulish and like what it's about. Yeah. And I think I said, I don't know. I just do it because what you just said was a much better response than what I gave you. So if you could just copy what you said and place it on Bizzong when I'm supposed to be responding, that would be appreciative.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'll try and do that. So for you, you're still like learning? about you're always trying to want to learn and talk to other writers. That's kind of like the nitty gritty of why you're doing Ghoulish.
No.
Is to no, you just press record. I have all this space on my hard drive that I could load up with audio files.
I'm not interested in any of that, to be honest. I don't know why I do Ghoulish. I don't know.
So I've made you look deep inside yourself, and ladies and gentlemen, this is the last episode of Ghoulish because I don't know why I do this anymore.
I mean, I pay a monthly fee on Lisbon, and then I forget to cancel it. So then I'm like, might as well do some more episodes since I paid for the month.
Well, that's true. Oh, so you're just trying to get your bandwidth in.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to just waste money. Who am I? Someone with money?
Obviously not.
What's the new book called? Catcoin? Is it the newest one?
Catcoin. That's my newest one. It is not horror comedy. It's just I don't know what the fuck it is.
Erotica.
It's erotica. It has its moments. I've been calling it like action adventure. I just really got into cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, learning all about it. And I just kind of wanted to write Bitcoin fiction.
Do you
and maybe help?
Do you invest in Bitcoin?
No, I don't. I don't have that kind of money.
I have this a co-local who's always trying to get me to invest with them, and I keep telling him no, but he keeps asking me.
He keeps it's. I mean, it's the price is low right now. It would be a good time to get in.
I don't have any money. I don't have any advertisements like you.
$1,000. Yeah.
You have Adam and Eve.
I have AdamandEve.com. Did you know that there's a legal limit of the amount of vibrators you can own in Texas?
Yeah, I was just asking my wife about the actual limit, and evidently it's only 3.
Only 3?
Yeah, I was way off. I thought it was 11.
Oh my god!
And she was and she said, "Why'd you think it was 11?" And I said, "Oh, I think maybe because I was making a 9/11 joke on the podcast I was just on."
So are you at like felony possession of a vibrator now then? If it's only 3?
I am going to fucking a cave, man. I'm gonna bypass prison and be sent to some cave.
When the vibrator police come to your house, are you gonna be like holding 2 dildos in your hand? You're like, not from my cold dead hands.
They're gonna catch me in the bathroom trying to flush them. If anyone wants to know what the fuck we're talking about, I guess they'll have to go listen to the latest episode of Bizzong. Okay, yes, so if Catcoin doesn't fit this genre, what do you want to promote? What does?
What fits the genre? Everything else I
pick some books. Let's talk about them. I'm going to ask you questions about the plots.
Before Catcoin, there was Scatterbrain, which is I wanted to write like a B movie type of a book. So I wrote, and I was sick of. I've already done like the Grim Reaper, and I've done like demons and stuff, and I didn't want to go like vampire, werewolf, the usual tropes, mummies.
You son of a
what's
bitch.
A B thing? I know, fuck them things. Who the fuck writes werewolf shit? That's stupid. So I wanted to go. With Killer Brains. Like I think it was a grossly underrepresented monster in the B movie, current modern B movie category. That's so popular nowadays. So I wrote Scatterbrain.
Now, are we talking like that episode from Futurama, but the brain's just like flying and taking over the little planet? What's happening?
No, well, I mean, these are killer brains that they run through the city, terrorizing the city, eating people. But I take it from the killer brains perspective. Like, this is like what we have to do to survive. So like, the people are scared of us, but I got to do this. And then we follow Scatterbrain. His name is Scatter, the brain. And he's like a teenager, on the doorstep of his 20s. He's done with school, but he still wants to run wild through the city, just hanging out with his friends and terrorizing the city. And his parents are like, "You need to get a job," and they kind of like kick him out. And so he gets kicked out of his house. He gets all depressed. He's got to find a job, and he winds up hanging out with this bum from the city who throws shit at him, and then they become the best of friends. And comedy ensues, shall we say, to the tune of he just becomes a better person in the end, I guess, is how, his character arc. He transforms himself. Isn't that what you're supposed to do? Tell stories?
Now, you said these brains were running around the city. So, do you mean these
Yeah.
brains have legs?
Yeah, well, they have their neurocords, their neurolimbs, I call them. All those little neuron veins and stuff that come out of your brain that like serves as their appendages. And then the scatterbrain, particularly, he loves to wear not, I can't say Converse, that would be copyright. He loves to wear his black canvas All Stars on his Neuralink to run around.
Watch out,
So fast.
folks. We have a science fiction riddle on the podcast. Oh my god.
I hadn't even considered. Well, I guess horror is science fiction anymore in the bookstores, but I hadn't considered a sci-fi perspective on it.
Sounds too intelligent for me. You've lost me. Brains with legs and not legs, little brain legs. God damn it.
Yeah, trust me. If you read it, it's not smart at all.
I trust you.
Good.
Anything else?
There's the demons, aforementioned demon story called Brats in Hell. That's that one's about the what's his name, Otto Vandernoodle, the bratwurst king of Milwaukee, gets killed in an unfortunate bratwurst cooking competition by his evil rival Billy Buns, and they both die and go to the pearly gates of heaven. And there's a whole big calamity scene where Otto, who should have went to heaven, gets cast off to hell, and Billy Buns, who's just an awful person, winds up in heaven, and Otto finds himself cast into hell amidst the battle for control of hell between Satan and his brother, who were trying to wrest power of the seat of hell for themselves. And Satan's brother comes across Otto's lost soul and figures out, because in hell, Satan controls the demons of hell, keeps them in control with his delicious bratwurst. That's like, give them cake, and he controls all the demons from rising up against him by just constantly feeding them his delicious bratwurst. So now Satan's brother gets a hold of Otto, and Otto starts making bratwursts of his own, which are actually better than Satan. So the balance of power starts to tip in hell, all because of Otto, who shouldn't have been there to begin with, is sort of tipping that balance, and the armies of hell will face off for control, the final battle. And meanwhile, heaven's going to shit because Billy Bun's in heaven fucking everything up there.
That made me extremely hungry.
Did it? It didn't make you edgy?
What do you mean?
Edgy, like you want to come?
Whoa! This is a family podcast, man.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot.
Good
Edgy,
God.
like like you want to lose control.
On my dick, yeah. How can folks find you online?
They just go to Facebook, and the last thing you'll want to type is Frank Bizzong. But you could type in Bizzong. You could go to Facebook, Frank Edler. I'm on Twitter at NJ Metal or at Bizzong Podcast, and I'm over there at Instagram. I do the Instagram too. There's a neat little Bizzong doodle I do when I'm talking to guests and I'm not really listening, and I just start doodling, and then I share those pictures so you can see the picture I doodled while not listening to you recently. And of course, everything I write is available on Amazon as things happen.
Are you on TikTok?
My children are, so I'm probably on TikTok in the background very often.
Nice. Now, I was just on Bizzong. What the hell did you draw?
I drew, I guess you have a little picture of you
Yeah.
as your icon on. So I drew that, but with like dog paws, like you're attacking someone. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Because werewolves. Yeah.
Yeah, which you
Dumbest thing.
hate, by the way. I'm told.
I hate. Yeah, werewolves. God.
I'm sick
It's
of
just
them.
done.
I'm sick of it.
Yeah.
Well, hey, thanks for doing this. This was fun.
I had a blast.
All right, well, don't blast off too much, man. That's how you get a raw dick. Jesus Christ. Sometimes I just need to think before I say anything, and this podcast would
No.
improve dramatically.
No, you'll lose all the comedy if you filter yourself.
Now, comedy on a podcast. That's enough. Okay, I'll see ya. Bye.
All right.
If you liked today's episode, hey, why don't you go support us on Patreon at patreon.com/PMM Publishing and rate and review Ghoulish on iTunes and any other place you can rate and review us. I have a new book coming out called Touch the Night. You can pre-order that at cemeterydance.com. Through my small press, I am publishing a new book later this month. Michael David Wilson's The Girl in the Video. Go to perpetualpublishing.com and get that book. Get it now. And what else? What do I usually say? Live spooky, die spooky, wash your hands, do not cough in anyone's mouth unless they give you consent. Yeah. All right. Goodbye.